Welcome to the Apostates, everybody. Today is a very special episode. We are going to start off with a dramatic reading. Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some. Now,
that's not the one we're doing.
That's Ben Shapiro.
That's not. No. You don't.
If we're going to talk,
you know how vagina works, Ryan. We're not doing that today.
If we're going to talk about some ridiculous lyrics that shouldn't be out there and are hard and just are the worst.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about a man named Jason Aldean. And I'm going to read these, all the verses, and then I will just read the chorus once because I'm not wasting that much time. So Please here are the lyrics. Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk. Carjack an old lady at a red light. Pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool? Well, act like a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop. Spit in his face. Stomp on the flag and light it up.
Yeah, at least 3 of those are not quite crimes. Those are just annoyances. He started off with actual crime, then he just descended into some bullshit. Yeah. But keep going.
Cussing out a cop, not a crime.
It is not.
Face, it's a crime, but
that's a crime.
Stomp on the flag and light it up. Stomp on the flag, not a crime. Lighting it up, it depends. Are you doing it on your own property? Is it your flag? Not a crime. Yeah, you think you're tough. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They
Does
say
it work?
One day they're going to round up.
Okay, now that's we getting into Emmett Till territory with that. Round it up, sir.
You know, it's funny the vague way it's phrased. Because he said they're not going to round the guns up.
No.
It's so vague that it evinces the imagery of people coming around to take your guns. Like Beto O'Rourke said, yes, we're coming to take your guns. But ask anybody. Nobody likes Beto. Nobody fucking likes him. He only got as close as he did because everyone hates Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz that much. I don't know. There's a tiny part of me that appreciates Beto. I appreciate Beto O'Rourke. I appreciate him. He's no Molly Ivins. He is no Ann Richards. It's a shame that when it comes to progressives in Texas, it's the women that have the corner on that market. But I mean, Beto wore a dress, so I mean, really, we ought to give him half credit for that.
I think there's no amount of skateboarding, speaking in Spanish, and Clash references that can make him cool.
And standing on tables. I'm sorry, he's adorably chuggy.
So, got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. Full of good old boys, raised up right. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Round here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Jason.
First of all, the motherfucker is from Macon. That is not a small town. Second of all, like, did he just borrow the imagery from every single lynching photograph that was sent as a postcard that probably might be in a shoebox in his grandma's house? What the fuck?
It's like, why the weird phrasing of they say one day they're going to round up?
No,
I'm curious why he didn't complete that sentence. I'm very curious. Because it's space. This vague space, and it didn't have to be vague. In fact,
really
nothing in this is very vague. The phrasing is so awkward. They say one day they're going to round up.
Round up who? Who round up what? What are we doing here, Jason? I mean, did Bo Burnham teach you nothing? Like, it's very pandery.
Oh,
but he doesn't have it. But he doesn't have the balls to say. He doesn't have the balls to say that. He doesn't have the balls or the lyrical talent to say what he means to say, which is Black people aren't welcome here. We believe in disproportionate extrajudicial retribution. and we don't put up we fly the Confederate flag, even though this is Ohio.
See, I love the way he tries to group in everything under the banner of these crimes, because he starts with sucker punch somebody, carjack an old lady,
and he talks about, and he's using the city. Like, sir, we have been alive long enough to know what city really means to you motherfucks. City has been used in country music as a byword for the other for nearly a century. They've been doing this for way too goddamn long.
Yeah.
You know who didn't shit on the city and city folk? Johnny Cash. You know who didn't shit on the city and city folk? Well, no. I think Dolly Parton did, but it was cute and it was fun. And she talked about working outside, and she talked about being a woman working outside the home. So you know what? I'm going to let that go.
There's this way of trying to set things up with violent crime and then lumping in all the things you just don't like into the same category. Because you start with sucker punching someone and carjacking an old lady, and then it comes
those are actual crimes.
On the flag, cussing out a cop.
That's not a crime. Not a crime. Cussing out a cop is not a crime. Even though cops like to act like it's a crime, they'll try to arrest you and pretend that it's a crime. I may not be a lawyer, but I do know that cussing out a cop is not a crime. It's ill-advised, especially if you're black or not white or not straight or not cis, but it's not a crime.
All I can say is if you cuss out a cop and you get arrested, it'll probably take a good year or so, but you'll probably get like 10 to 50 grand out of that one. Not from their pension fund or from the cops themselves.
Where it should be coming from.
But, from your own tax money. But,
Yeah, you'll be getting like a weird, think of it as a weird ass refund.
Yeah. So, just that Jason Aldean song. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Jason Aldean one of the people who was in Las Vegas?
This man had an audience full of eventual gun violence victims, and this is how he talking? Like, does he not appreciate that? And didn't he also like literally run off stage due to heat stroke? Like, he could have given himself a nice little flash dance moment. But no.
It's all performative. It's all so...
Bo Burnham didn't lie.
It's posturing.
Bo Burnham didn't lie.
Oh, yeah.
When it came to country music, Bo Burnham did not lie. I got to give him credit for that.
I can still hear that sort of word salad nonsense he did, where he's just saying random phrases out loud in the Southern accent, Cold
and I'm like,
big truck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that shit,
and I'm like, that second verse is a little rapey, and I need white women to understand that all you're doing is just if this is what you have to do to get your good cut of the heist, do better by yourselves. Really, honestly, do better.
And I don't want to have to give my bona fides every time we talk about the gun issue, but I'm just look, gun owner here. I own 3 handguns. I am not some little. What do they call those things that like wilt in
pansy,
shrinking violet or some shit, or whatever the phrase is. But there's a difference between posturing and worshiping the gun as an extension of your personality and just being a regular fucking gun owner. And you people are just posturing. You are small, tiny, scared, paranoid losers.
Scared doesn't even begin it. When it comes to how they feel about cities, scared doesn't even begin to cover it. It's like they go off some chick tractified view of cities as baby Sodom and Gomorrah's all, and they just can't visualize the fact that for many people, for their own forebears coming from Germany or Hungary or wherever, their first taste of America was the city.
when it
But
comes
okay.
when it comes
But
to
okay.
violent crime, the rates of violent crime are higher in the country than they are in the city.
Facts.
And not to put too fine a point on it, preaching to the choir on this one, but the most violent crime spree ever to occur in a city happened in a place called Tulsa, and it wasn't the kind of crime that they're singing about in the song. Just gonna
and people, and what people like Ryan Waters forget is that about a year or so before Tulsa, there was a woman, a Black girl by the name of Marie. I believe her name was Marie Scott or Marie Smith, one of the two. Someone attempted to assault her. She fought back and killed them. For her trouble, Marie was lynched.
Jason Aldean's Georgian, right? He's from Georgia.
Yes, he is.
Sherman should have finished the fucking job.
Facts. I'm a Sherman appreciator. I'm not necessarily an admirer, but I'm a Sherman appreciator.
I'm not saying the man was a saint. I'm just saying
he wasn't. But Kump should have just finished the job. Kump should have just been like, "Bitch, let it burn. Bitch, call me Usher. Let it burn. Just let it burn."
I want to live in the alternate universe where Lincoln was never assassinated and the South was an occupied territory with Grant in charge of.
Or I would like to live in whichever universe had the entire Confederate cabinet hung and all officers all the way down to Lieutenant JG hung or sentenced to prison. And we get all survivors of the of the race-based human trafficking that is American slavery got their goddamn 40 acres and a mule. That's the universe I want to live in.
You know, when it comes to pardons, whether it's pardoning the Confederates or pardoning Nixon, pardoning traitors, never a fucking good idea.
Never.
Just don't do it.
Never.
And you know what the thing is? I'm anti-death penalty, but when it comes to political realism and how to basically keep uprisings to a minimum,
maybe we just all got a little bit of Kissinger in us, and we just try to direct it put it in the proper direction. God damn. I said it. We all got a little Kissinger in us. We all know that for some people, for some groups, napalm sticks to kids, fam.
Speaking of kids and war crimes, Ukraine.
What? You can't give people everything that's in the bottom of our closet. Some shit was meant not to be given out. We can't be Auntie Sam giving out all our shit at the bottom of the closet, especially shit that nobody is supposed to be using.
I am
like, what the fuck, bruh?
Cluster bombs are rightly considered and I know we're not signatory to the fucking thing. Look, cluster bombs the use of them should be considered a war crime by everybody. And us giving cluster bombs. Now, listen, I am on board with providing aid to Ukraine. I am not on board with giving them something that in 40 years is going to detonate and blow a bunch of kids' limbs off.
Yeah, you don't want a bunch of kids at Zaporizhia Middle, number 4, 15 years from now, trying to clean up the back 9 by the cow field, and the next thing you know, half the 7th form class just goes to God. We don't need that. No one asked for that.
Do we need another scene of Alan Alda crying about a kid blowing up?
Lord,
like what?
Meghan Markle does not have Meghan Markle is not interested in fulfilling her mother-in-law's job again. Meghan is not interested in getting in a plane, flying to Zaporizhia, flying to Bucha, and doing that shit again. She ain't. It's not that she can't. It's just, why are we doing it? Because that's all we doing now.
It's the mission creep. It's the drift. It's this sort of like we can't fucking have nice things. We can't stick.
We can't have a nice simple war. We can't have a nice simple war. A nice simple. Let's just help these people get rid of this authoritarian jerk off. No, it turns into a fucking shit show. And yes, I do consider that part of Henry Kissinger's legacy. I also consider that part of Colin Powell's legacy.
This is basically
I said what I said.
This has become the sort of us now providing cluster munitions to Ukraine has turned this in for, it has turned it. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people who think it's always been this, but all I can say is providing what is essentially going to be the result in a bunch of children's limbs being blown off, if they're lucky, years down the line, has turned this into yet another Cold War proxy war against Russia. The Cold War may be over. I think it was really on pause.
Yeah.
And this is just the kind of thing Biden couldn't stick to the idea that we're just going to provide them aid to help against an invading army of that is trying to conquer and take their land and erase what it is to be Ukrainian. Because, I mean, yes, what Russia is attempting is a genocide.
Yeah, and it's basically a soft genocide. What you usually see when, kind of when a bunch of in-groups decide that they're going to just fuck each other's shit up, which, I mean, I hate to break it to people, that's usually that's just any given century in that part of the global neighborhood.
There's a lot of shitty takes everywhere. I mean, my take's probably shit, probably really shitty too, but
depends.
It's hard to say. Like, it's a shitty take to say that we should be giving them cluster munitions. It's also a shitty take to say that, we shouldn't be supporting Ukraine because their army's full of Nazis. I got news about our fucking army.
Oh my, talk about it. Wake it up.
Like, there in any military, there are going to be some fascists in the ranks.
There are some people that
just the fucking military and cops. That's just what happens.
People think that fascism is some abstract. No, honey, no, baby, no, you sweet summer child. Fascism is closer than you think. Some people just really like the cold, sweet embrace of authority cold, sweet embrace of authority that pretends to go after the people that pretends to love them and go after the people they don't like. Some people they cannot live without that shit. It's like daddy doms for sociopaths.
So I am not looking forward to where this shit with Ukraine is going, but man, Biden,
damn it, Joe.
You almost squeaked by. You were going for a while without being, a really war crimey president, but you had to slip in some war crimes. You just had to, you son of a bitch. You just had to slip in some war crimes.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was just going to stay to the basic bitch shit. Then he just slipped into full war crime. And I'm just like,
God damn it, Joe. Just stop.
Just have some ice cream and think about what you're doing. Have some ice cream and think about it. Have somebody pull you some Tillamook Rocky Road. This is not what you want. It's not what you want.
God, I don't want an 86-year-old president. But you know what? It's whatever. He's the...
Yeah, it's either that or... Listen, at this point, it's like this. It's either we're going to be getting that or we're going to be getting a full-on Ukrainian genocide. And honestly, I'm not really in the mood for a Ukrainian genocide.
No, I'm not either. It's one of those things where, you're given two options and both options fucking suck. I would probably be like... Fine. If I really fucking have to, I will choose a couple of 12-year-olds blowing up 30 years from now instead of an entire genocide. But it really shouldn't be the decision.
It really shouldn't
be the decision. Fuck you, Joe. Just fuck you so hard for that.
I'm like, that was unnecessary and painful. No one had a good time. No one had a good time from that.
But, let's move on. Speaking of Joe, let's move on to the presidential primary, because on top of an 80-year-old man running for a second term who basically just joined the War Crimes Brigade, or at least the major War Crimes Brigade.
All I'm saying is that he's holding on to the streak of ain't no U.S. president seeing heaven.
Yeah, no, maybe Jimmy
Carter. He's just holding the streak. He's holding his streak.
Yeah, I do want if anybody has any nominations for what, now again, we're presupposing that heaven and hell exist for this, whether you agree or disagree, just posit that heaven or hell exists for this. Name me a president besides Jimmy Carter that you think is actually in heaven or getting to go there. I
Or on the fast track.
Yeah.
On like wrapping up their last couple of years and last couple of decades in purgatory.
You never know. I mean, John Quincy Adams was an abolitionist, and he apparently was really good with Native Americans.
He might be wrapping up his last. That lucky bastard might be wrapping up his last couple decades in purgatory. I mean, maybe
he might have like had like a habit of like kicking children. I don't know, but it just seems to be something like all these people are terrible. But anyway, moving on. Joe Biden, obviously, once he said he's running again, DNC's not going to open up a primary for him
because they are tired,
and that just doesn't happen.
I know, and it's like, and they are tired. The DNC is tired. They're like, no, we are not going through that drama. Ain't nobody want that drama. It is more fun to watch. Like, the one thing that I think they're going to try to get right is be like, you know what? It's more fun to watch the Republicans tear themselves to shreds. Get your cameras, yell World Star.
I thought that's what was happening in 2016, though. I thought the Republicans were destroying themselves and were going to implode. And then,
I just think this time, because I will say this, Congress had its shit. The Republican Congress had its shit together in 2016. They were ready. While in this case, Republican Congress is just, listen, if you have a Democratic congressman, the president of the freshman class, that would be Robert Garcia, who I love that man. He's gay as hell. He's Team DC, but that's okay. We will not hold it against him. He tweeted literally, he's like, I might end up hitting an IG live if Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene get into a fight in the House floor. It might happen. I might just, and I'm like, and basically the entire Twitter feed was like, bam, do it. Sis, do it.
This is just like, by the way, Elon Musk versus Zuckerberg, where Zuckerberg would have just ended Musk in seconds. Marjorie's going to kick the shit out of Lauren.
Yeah, because she's got that country strength. She's got that country strength, and she knows she's not pretty anymore, so she does not care. While Lauren's trying to maintain her GILF status, trying to maintain her chunk of the heist. I don't know who she fucking on the Hill, but you know she fucking somebody. So Lauren is going to be trying to keep herself from getting her face fucked up, and Marjorie Taylor Greene will not give a rat's ass. She knows just enough that she will cover herself in Vaseline, put her hair up in a bandana. She might not take her earrings out, and she will beat the shit out of Lauren. And honestly, I kind of just want the picture of them to be them fighting in the well of the House, and the entire Democratic House just sitting there with their phones like, I don't know what you want us to do.
I want more Republican infighting because it keeps the eyes away from the Democratic infighting that you have with all these members of the Democratic caucus going off on the squad for being anti-Semitic because they dared call Israel an apartheid state. Like, listen, what the fuck else is it if not an apartheid state? They tried to call Israel a democracy, and I'm like, which people can vote? Which people?
It's a democracy if you're part of what they consider to be the people. If you're not, sorry for you.
Yeah, the Israeli government is running an apartheid state. This is not casting any aspersions on Israelis. There's a very
the Israeli people are wonderful. Their government is a whole other ball of wax.
But that's what the mainstream Democrats really love to do whenever somebody criticizes Israel as a country, is for them to say that they're casting aspersions on the idea of Israel. Bitch, no. That's not what's happening. To an extent, I don't ever like the idea of an ethno-state. But, on the other hand, I'm not Jewish. That's not my say. I'm not getting involved in that. But one way to not have a state is to forcibly take land from others, shove them out into nothingness, repeatedly destroy their homes and their places where they live and where they have history, and say, oh, also, you don't have a stake. You live here in this little cordoned off area, but you also don't have any say in what's going on.
I mean, you kind of have a say within your own district, but it's not even really an official say.
And also, those places we pushed you into, we might come back to take some more of that a little later. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, it's a little different from me saying, from, you know, because I really like that. That's the thing with Israel. And the thing is, what gets me always is you kind of want to address the government and be like, you as a collective know better than to act like this. But here you are acting like this. ¿Qué es eso?
Well,
why?
All it takes is a small group of people and some coalition building to wield an unimaginable amount of power. And the right wing is great at building coalitions.
That is true.
And I'm not.
But what gets me is the fact that they're just willing to be part of the the right wing Christians rapture Yahtzee, which I'm like, y'all do know that is what it is. Like basically right wing Christians are propping you up just to satisfy their rapture fantasies. Y'all like it.
Right wing Christians are basically Ted Knight and Caddyshack going, well, we're waiting the entire time. But I say that to say the following. They're too busy calling legitimate criticism of Israel's government anti-Semitic when a challenger for the Democratic primary just said that COVID was targeted. And the least affected of those are Ashkenazi Jews.
Do they know that?
Now, the explanation for, by the way, fucking Israel has one of the highest vaccination rates in the way.
Yeah, fam, the moment Israel heard that there was a vaccine, they literally acted like a bunch of white kids in Williamsburg. They elbowed their way to the front of the line and decided they wanted some. I said what I said.
So, I just can't help but, sorry, I just got this image of, I don't know if you know the song Bobby Brown Goes Down by Frank Zappa, but that's basically, that entire song is basically Brett Kavanaugh's biography. So, I'll have...
Including the whole 4th of July multiple F's day?
I mean, it loosely... It follows the arc of his life.
Does it include answers as to where he got all that money to satisfy his loans, etc., etc., etc.? You know, listen. That's like that. Listen, I don't really give a fuck about old beer keg Brett. Except I want to know where that motherfucker got his money from.
Well,
I know that makes me sound like some weird anti-Irish whatever, but I want to know where he got that. I want to know where that lucky ass Mick got his money from. I said what I said.
But to go back again to Robert Kennedy Jr., like that's some real anti-Semitism. That is real anti-Semitism. Yeah. The idea that a bioweapon the fact is he tried to backpedal from the use of the word targeted. Targeted can only imply that something was used
on purpose.
Whether it's a natural, or man-made, it implies it was used to target. Targeted is one of those fucking verbs that doesn't have a lot of
wiggle room.
Targeted means something, and he used it in a very specific way. And keep in mind, he had also said previously that the Chinese were working on bioweapons that target people by race, which anybody who ever says that is a racist person. And I'm not saying that because I think that the idea of them saying the Chinese would do a thing is him being racist against the Chinese. No, that is definitely racist. But it's the idea that someone thinks that a bioweapon could target different races. That belies an idea that someone has a little bit of eugenics in their fucking thought
Yeah,
process.
and I'm just like, wait, and then I just start thinking about mixed people, and you know, what are we doing with them?
You know, there's, I mean, it's been said a lot of times. I'm not a geneticist. I'm not a biologist, but I did damn well in biology in high school and college. Enough to say that I definitely, after hearing Robert Kennedy's public statements, understand viral biology better than Robert Kennedy. Not a high bar.
I think most people who've survived through this pandemic that we pretend is not ongoing do have a slightly better grasp of viral biology than Robert Kennedy, and the fact that we don't want to have that conversation is hilarious to me.
But anybody who thinks that there is a virus that can target specific races believes things that are fantastical about the science of human beings and race and what it means to be one race or another, because
Yeah,
it really just isn't that much of a difference.
It
There
really
is more differentiation within a race. Like, there is more differentiation among. I'm trying to figure out the way the circles overlapping, but you can't take one group of people of one particular race and say that their genetic makeup is different to another group of a different race.
there's too little. There's
between
the
both.
differentiation is too goddamn narrow, and he's lying to himself and everyone else about what he thinks science is capable of. Science has not yet don't think it hasn't tried, has not yet refined to target one group of people with a specific set of genetic markers versus another group, as far as creating a disease that, no. I hope both his dad, I hope his dad, his granddad, and his uncle beat the crap out of him in his dreams, like at least, and make it look like at least Nightmare on Elm Street, but maybe 3.
It's the insane anti-Semitism of that belief of his. That none of the Democrats are focusing on. This is a guy who wants the Democratic nomination, and they're too busy going after the squad for saying that Israel's government.
Or I think what it is they're hoping that everyone will be like, he's crazy, we're ignoring him. I think that's what they're hoping to do, and I understand that concept of he is so crazy we don't even entertain his point of view. And on one hand, that can work, but on the other, the Republicans tried that shit, and we all saw how that turned out.
Well, it's more just the fact that, okay, you're going after 1, 2, 3, 4 women of color, calling them anti-Semitic for a thing that wasn't anti-Semitic, but the guy who said an anti-Semitic thing, who is a rich, wealthy white man
from a very prominent family that makes white male journalists go weak in the knees. Like, listen, if there is one thing I do want to live to see other than the end of the British Empire, it's the end of white people's infatuation with Camelot. Don't get me wrong. I like the concept, but I do know about the reality. The Kennedys were as dissolute and inbred as our own British royal family, and they didn't even have a goddamn title to back it up.
I would really love it if people stopped being enamored with any kind of authority. And I'm not saying being obstinate to all authority is a thing, but be skeptical and don't develop a cult of personality for anyone. And it's like those things when people say, I don't see any Biden signs. I don't see people at his rally. I don't see people wearing his hat, because the people who voted for him don't fucking like him. You don't,
or we like the concept of him, but we know the reality and we're like, eh. Or many of us, we liked someone else first, and then we just accepted him like, well, he'll do.
Well,
he is the midnight pick at the sketchy bar in town. Yes, it's not 2 a.m. yet, but you know it's 11:30, and you know the picks ain't gonna get any better from here. Let's go.
It's just, Joe, I realize you've been working on that old racism problem you have. It seems like you've tampered that down a little bit, but everyone still knows who you are. Everyone remembers Anita Hill. Everyone fucking remembers that you were the king of asset forfeiture. Everyone remembers that you were against busing. I mean, Kamala Harris beat your ass for that one.
And and in a gesture of respect, I guess, I consider it, you beat my ass in public. But yeah, no, honestly, I'm just looking at it like he's my 11:30. He's your 11:30 pick at the sketchy bar at the edge of town. Yes, it's only 11:30, but here at this place, the picks aren't going to get any better.
Well, that's kind of it. When it comes to voting for president, it's already too late. You have lost you know, your car is already careening down a hill, and you've got to fucking, like, you know.
Yeah, it's already 1:45. Place is cleared out, and your Uber's going to be there in the next 20 minutes. Listen, you're going to just close the deal with the least scary option.
The bar put on closing time to get the hint out. You know.
Yeah, you are kibitzing with the least scary option, and you see that and your Uber's going to be here any minute now.
God damn it.
I said what, and you're going to make sure that they already have their money and they've pre-ordered their Uber for in the morning, because you do not want to actually make breakfast for this fuck.
Well, I say this often for a lot of people who want to vote third party in the presidential elections, and it's not a moral condemnation of it, but there's the arguments for doing.
I don't have the luxury. I used to believe I had the luxury of voting third party. I don't.
Look, I voted Gary Johnson in 2012, but that also was more of a protest vote. I knew it was useless. I lived, you know, it was more of a case of, you know, I was still a recovering Republican at the time. And yeah. I just, you know, I don't know.
I wrote in Evan McMullin in 2016. I was in a very solid blue precinct. I was very convinced that, you know what, Hillary's got this. I was emotionally ready for a Clinton presidency. I really was. I was emotionally ready. I was like, I am emotionally ready for Madam President. I can do this. I can get through this.
That's the thing. I remember when she first ran for president in 2008. I was just sort of like, man, there is nothing in. And at the time, you know, I was still Republican. I voted for John McCain in that election. Same. But in my head, I'm thinking of, man, there is nothing in this universe that could possibly get me to vote for Hillary Clinton. Then 2016 came around. I'm like, fucking asshole.
Okay, universe, we see you. Yeah, no, I voted for Evan McMullin. I wrote him in because I was like, I could not bring myself to do it, but I knew I would rather walk into the middle of US 1 or walk into the path of an incoming train than vote for Donald Trump. So it was like,
what was it you said about Evan McMullin? It was something like, there's a man who's garroted somebody with piano wire or something. There was something funny you said about him.
I was like, this is a man who's garroted somebody with piano wire. I feel comfortable with this decision. I was like, he's a Mormon who's worked for the CIA. He's killed somebody. He's killed somebody and cleaned the blood out of his choose the right ring. I'm okay with this.
Man.
Oh, we were so stupid.
Yeah.
We were stupid.
I hope we're not stupid again.
I hope that people realize that this is one of those weird that fighting off fascism is like dealing with the flu. You got to get the flu shot. You may think you don't need it. Just fucking get it. Just fucking get the goddamn flu shot. Just get the goddamn flu shot, because this time it's like, okay, listen. Fighting fascism at this point in history is like being a 96-year-old needing to get the flu shot. Yeah, you can risk not getting the flu shot, but at this point, do you really want to? But just get the flu shot. You'll probably feel like shit and need to like fall asleep while watching Wheel of Fortune, but you'll be fine. you know, you might fall asleep and piss yourself while watching Wheel of Fortune. If you're 96, who's really gonna be mad at you for that? Nobody. Annoyed, but not mad. Listen, 96, you're allowed to have like 1 or 2 bladder accidents. God damn it.
So let's turn now.
Yeah, let's move on
to the WGA and SAG-AFTRA dual strike.
Oh, I know. You to quote Missy Elliott in Tempo. You've been waiting for this one.
Well, look, I think it's a common mistaken belief that, you know, actors and writers make a lot of money. And I think bullshit. That, you know, like any industry, there are people who are at the top and there are people who don't make a lot of money. It's even less true with Hollywood than it is in other industries. Hollywood has become such a gig economy. And I realize I'm not, you know, this isn't my own original thought. This is how
it's not.
I'm describing it. But even in the days of yore, you know, for every Aaron Sorkin, there were thousands of writers who, if they were living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 other guys, that would be the lap of luxury. Like, one statistic that jumped out at me was putting out that the average writer in Los Angeles makes $70,000, but that's not the median. That's the average.
Exactly,
because that there are, and I hate to use this example, but I mean, he's like the only auteur writer that I can think of. You know, is Aaron Sorkin. Like someone who's just a multi-millionaire because of their writing career that led to other things. Like that person's salary brings that average up.
Up to 70,000.
That average salary does not buy a great living in Los Angeles.
Show enough don't. It really don't. People really need to understand that California, and I can say this as a Floridian where things are pretty expensive, California is stupid expensive. Like right now, us in California are battling it out for most expensive places to live. And the thing is, unlike Florida, pricing in California makes no sense. Like you can be on Sepulveda and there can be one fucking gas station where it's $5.28 a gallon. You go up 5 blocks, it's $7.50 a gallon. There is no logic there. That is what I have been told repeatedly by tourists, longtime residents, you know.
Well, it's been known for a long time that streaming companies don't share their viewership numbers. Part of that is because the law hasn't kept up with this concept of streaming. So there is no legal requirement that they have to have open books. But creative accounting and creative practices in Hollywood has been a thing from time immemorial. I don't know if anybody who watches this will remember the graphic that showed how on paper Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix did not profit.
Yeah, because people think that the producers was just a cute little Broadway show instead of, hey, listen. And most people weren't nerds enough to remember the Saga of Uwe Boll. Like, exactly. Like, bruh. I'm not even that hardcore of a film nerd, but I remember the Saga of Uwe Boll. That man out here making shit movies because it's like by losing you win. I hate to break it to people that he kind of made it more investor driven than audience driven. He's part of why it's like this. making
And it's gotten worse.
Of course.
I mean, it's significantly the practice of scrapping, and we talked about this last episode. I don't know if we both just got kicked off the stream or okay, both of us are
No,
back.
I'm still here.
I don't know how that looked. Okay, well, the practice of scrapping entire products from their streaming service,
memory holding entire fucking projects.
And we talked about this
That
last
bullshit.
time. Yeah, that if you really want to claim a loss on your taxes for this, then you should have to slip it into the public domain. But you should also have to give a taste to all of the people involved in the creation of it. I mean,
yeah, in other words, put that shit on YouTube.
Took a loss on it, you should lose it.
Yeah. Pay everybody that was involved and put that shit on YouTube. I dare you.
If you want to claim to the U.S. government that you deserve taxes, a tax break for losing it, then you should fucking lose it. Period.
Free the
David
Zaslav.
David Zaslav, I don't know how he's not more hated.
Because more people, he's trying to do what a lot of people have been trying to do before, which is there was a period where back during the ages of the studio system, studio heads were known. They were in the society pages. With the breaking of the studio system, studio heads kind of fell back into the background. And while that was initially a good thing, it's not entire. Initially it was a good thing, but it wasn't a good thing entirely. So now you don't have the society pages saying, well, everyone's favorite head of the House of Mouse is taking a much needed retreat with all the other billionaires at Santa Cucamonga. In other words, we don't have some 1930s Pathé grainy thing that shows him, hanging out with other studio heads to the degree. But now with the fact that with this strike, that shit might come back. We might be able to get all up in studio heads' lives and be like, okay, so you just spent money on a yacht, and is that a supercar? That could have paid at least 4 writers, covered at least 5 background actors' day fees. Oh, you had a BIPOC principal, and she had to do her own hair. Oh no, you charging her more than 30. You are giving that woman more than $35. You are giving her at least $180 because that shit is not cheap.
Why were they so insistent on releasing the Flash movie? Why?
Nobody wanted it. I just want to know who invested in that particular project. It had to be somebody was invested in that particular project for them to be like, no, we want this out.
Why would you be like, now we're going to get rid of Batgirl and basically all these other projects created by and or starring people of color, but Ezra Miller, we want to hitch our wagon to Ezra Miller.
Because a lot of these investors are also people who are uber wealthy, who've probably never met a black person that wasn't in a uniform and saying yes sir, no sir.
They would rather
I said what I said.
Rather a alleged cult leader be supported than just normal ass people of color. They shelved an already completed movie and then worked harder to complete filming Flash after Ezra Miller was arrested umpteen fucking times and was
Let it wash over you. Let it wash over you.
I just
let it wash over you. Let it wash over you.
Look, as somebody in the realm of queer, I hate Ezra Miller.
I don't think anybody really wants him in the club. He's just here by default.
It's not fair to say people judge us unfairly, so we all need to just be, not
decadent assholes.
Mm-hmm. It's not fair because we should all be allowed to be as much assholes as cisgender, straight, hetero, whatever.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Facts.
And Ezra Miller is going to be used as an example from time immemorial of LGBTQ bullshit. So, again, not fair, but I hate Ezra Miller for that. I mean, I also hate Ezra Miller as a human being for doing horrible human shit. But
of course you do.
Specifically for being a front-facing, queer person
who absolutely
also being horrible.
Yeah, it's not even like you could be Demi Lovato, who just got so tired of having to correct people with her pronouns that she reverted back to natal pronouns because she was just that tired.
Which I got that because I was so happy to be using they them, so I could call them Demi Lovato. Because
that would have been so cute. Demi Lovato. Oh my God, I'm here for it.
But yeah, ultimately, they were really all in on releasing that Flash movie, and it was terrible.
I heard so many people were like, fucking hate it, didn't want it, didn't ask for it, will be watching Barbie instead. People just save what I think it is that people just save their energy for Barbie. And I understand that 100% because honestly, I'd rather watch Margot Robbie hold on to a bar just out of frame so that she can give us the ultimate effect that we all secretly wanted.
I think part of it is that, this writer's strike and actor strike couldn't come at a better time because we are seeing a return to the producers, the studio system that you mentioned too. And it's not good for anybody. It's not good for creativity because everything becomes an assembly line. And as much as the cinematic universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is an achievement, it is all the same.
It's exhausting.
Not going to lead to a betterment of the art form. Now, I'm not one of those people who's saying it's not art. I'm not like those people because I enjoy the Marvel movies, and I do think in their own way they, are enjoyable and they are works of art. But that's not that system that creates the Marvel Cinematic Universe does not create good art as a rule. It's an exception.
And I think it's also the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Disney poured so many of its resources into it, instead of saying, okay, now that we've resurrected this universe, what else can we do? Can we do something now that we have the money maker? Now that we have the money maker, we now have room to be innovative, which is what studios used to do. It used to be that an actor would take on some role and you'd be like, oh my God, he only doing that for the money. And then 2 summers later, you see them in a slightly smaller film and you're like, oh, this is what you took that huge film for, to have the budget so you can make this shit. Okay.
It comes back to me. I mean, I think of the ultimate example of that is John Sayles, who for those unfamiliar, John Sayles, he wrote the movies Piranha, Alligator, and another one of those fucking, creature features.
Okay, I can visualize it.
He also is a well-known, serious, dramatic filmmaker who does almost nothing in his own right, but like serious character, historical dramas. Like one of my favorite things I've ever seen was Madawan, which was about the battle. It was like presaging the Battle of Blair Mountain in West Virginia.
Okay.
And the union strikes and the Baldwin Felts company coming in and intimidating the striking workers. And so
Okay. So this was
it's
a union
incredible.
drama.
Yeah. And I didn't even mean to tie it into the talk of unions, but it just, John Sayles, like, you had a system where people could do one for the masses and then one for themselves, one for the masses for the money, one for themselves. But now there is no one for themselves under this system.
Yeah, because I remember all the years that Pierce Brosnan did James Bond, and then he did Angela's Ashes, and he was just so fucking proud of it. And I'm like, okay. I mean, it's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. Huh?
I did not like that movie.
It was a good movie. It wasn't like, oh my god, I want to see it again. But
Yay. The whole movie is just gray and brown, and
you're like, it's depressing Ireland. This isn't fun Ireland. What the fuck?
It's stones and mud, and it's just, I can't.
It's no wonder you left Ireland.
It's just like, I'm sorry, but it's just.
Like I said, Mans did autumn James Bond films just so he could have the budget to make Angela's Ashes. And I'm like, well, there you go. You're not, I mean, for better or for worse, we're not getting no Angela's Ashes anymore. And that's why the only star that seems to be flourishing right now is Tom Cruise. Because I don't think the man has a passion project in a true sense of the word. In other words, I don't think
passion is the work.
Yeah.
Period.
That's all it is. The man just is like, what amazing eye-popping stunt that I can do that'll quiet my inner demons while I deal with that'll quiet my inner demons in a way Scientology never will.
Well, that's there are going to be, if the system persists and the strikes don't work and take the studios down a peg, there will be no more auteur writers. There will be no more auteur directors, and little passion projects, if they aren't immediately runaway smashes, that in 2 months they will be gone and you won't be able to watch them anywhere. There will be no home media version. There will be no ability to see it anywhere.
No Tubi
or quality.
Maybe Tubi if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Maybe Tubi or Pluto TV if you're lucky.
So that is why these strikes need to work on top of the regular reason that people shouldn't be working for a living and fucking starving.
And people should not have to ask about a meal break or a rest break. If you are unfortunate enough to be young and a background actor, that they kind of are like, well, you're young, we're not going to pay you that much.
There is a lot of denigration of the actual work of acting. Look, I haven't spent a lot of time on movie sets. I've spent one day on a movie set, and everything I watched in that one day on that one movie set was a bunch of people working their ass off for 16 fucking hours, and they were going to do it again tomorrow when I wasn't there, and they were going to do it again the next day, over and over and again. And I know there's a lot of people who say, well, that's not real work. What is real work? What is real work? What is a job?
I'm like, it's
what the fuck is a job?
What the fuck is a job?
It's making entertainment that people pay money to enjoy. And
exactly.
People are paying.
I think what it is people don't want to think about the fact that acting is a job. Sex work is a job. Exotic dancing is a job. All these things are jobs. And because you don't know about burlesque is a job. You don't know about the labor that goes into creating an effortless illusion. People automatically assume that it's easy and anybody can do it.
I know work is work. People should get the fruits of their labor or the equivalent of the fruits of their labor. But one thing I will say is there is some work that is less valuable than others, and it's the work that people like David Zaslav do, because that work could be done by a fucking algorithm.
Yeah, let's put it like this. They want to bring AI into the industry. Let's bring it in and bring it at the level of the CEO first. Then we can see what it'll do.
What does he do all day? I want David Zaslav to explain what he fucking does all day.
Eat the souls and dreams of actors, particularly those of color.
All I can say is a lot of the people who cast shit on actors and writers and talk about them being entitled or whatever are the people who consume the product that they make. You could talk about
and not
it
even
like
the best of, and not even the best of the product either, and not even the best of the product. And then you realize, and then you find out about how many failed actors how many failed actors and writers find themselves in the right-wing media ecosphere.
Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro. Oh God.
Gina Carano,
Steven Crowder,
Kevin Sorbo, Jim Caviezel. Sorry, Jim. We know who you is now.
I'm not going to say. I don't want to say too much about that stupid movie, but I will just say
one
thing, that Ashton Kutcher has done more to help sex-trafficking victims than Jim Caviezel, or the guy that
Dolph Lundgren has done more. Dolph Lundgren has done more to help sex trafficking victims. I said what I said. Dolph motherfucking Lundgren has done more.
Yeah. I mean, the guy has a history of lying and making shit up and taking credit for saving sex-trafficking victims that, for example, escaped on their own without his help.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. I don't want to get into it. Sound of Freedom is a shit-ass movie made by shit-ass people. Fuck them all. I don't care. But all the same, if people are consuming that, the motherfuckers who were involved in making it should get paid, because I believe that labor should be rewarded with the ability to have a life. Anyway, also, I mean,
all I know is that the highlight I've seen of today's strike day was the Eric Bauza, the voice of a lot of the Looney Tunes characters, present incumbent voice. He joined the picket line, and he did no wages, no pages in the Daffy Duck voice. Listen, I'm going to need more strike highlights. I mean, the strike so far, I've seen Fran Drescher's absolutely fire. Yes, we're going on strike speech. Reset to Nas's Ether beat, which I think is the most gloriously New York thing I've seen.
I want to actually touch on that. Fran Drescher's speech.
I may not like Fran Drescher because she's anti-vax, but she did what needed to be done.
Didn't know she was anti-vax. That kind of man.
That sours it a little, but you know what? She did what needed to be done. I'm not saying I'm permanently letting it go, but at the time of the strike, I am going to let it.
What I will say is that, basically it's opposition kind of nonsense going out about her saying, she was out in Italy with Kim Kardashian doing. Yeah, she was promoting her work before the strike started. You don't go on strike. That's what everyone was doing. Strike. So there's that. And also, she's been pro-union forever. A lot of people mention that episode of The Nanny where she wouldn't refuse to cross the picket line. But I remember, and I know if you're like me, you remember too, The Beautician and the Beast, where she fucking organized a factory labor into a strike. That movie is dumb as shit, and I love it.
Listen, that was like, I wouldn't be shocked to find out that was one of her little passion projects, because that shit was a dumb but hilarious little movie. Dumb and hilarious, and you know what? I mean, I supported it. It was cute.
Well, we are going to go for now, and we'll be back next week. But until then, I wish all the strikers very well. And some late breaking news. Looks like Henry Kissinger is somehow still alive. What the fuck is
because
shit?
We've now realized, I think the whole bullshit in the war of Ukraine is powering whatever hell machine is keeping him alive.
Oh my God, he found another Horcrux.